So one of the big skills in fourth grade and also in fifth grade is long division. And a lot of people find it difficult, but I think they're confusing it with another skill which is difficult. I don't think long division itself is really that tricky, and I'll show you what I mean by that. First, I think long division starts with division with remainders. There's usually, you have to fit one number into another number, and then there's something left over. So that's why I built this activity on Goated Math that practices specifically that skill. So here they'll have you say, how many times does 2 go into 9? 2, 4, 6, 8. It fits 4 times, and then there's 1 left over. How many times does 2 go into 17? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. It fits 8 times, and then there's 1 left over. So I think for any third grader, they are able to do that if they've practiced multiplication at least a little bit. They know how to count by 2. They may not know exactly off the top of their head how many 2s it takes to get to 17. Here, I think a lot of students know how to count by 5 pretty easily. So even if they don't know that it's 7 here, they can go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. So it fits 7 times. And then to get from 35 to 38, there's 3 more. So division with remainders. And again, I don't think that's too hard. Where it starts to get difficult is where you start to do division by numbers like 3 and 4 is a little bit trickier than 2 and 5, but especially when you get to numbers like 6, 7, 8, and 9, if a student doesn't know their multiplication facts very well, doing something like this is extremely difficult. 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. That's really the big weakness for a lot of these students, so I guess I want to start off the video by just highlighting the difference between doing division with remainders like 2 and 5, which is extremely easy, and then doing division with numbers like 8 and 9 and 6 and 7, which is conceptually the same thing, but because the numbers are a little bigger and because they don't fit into the tens, its calculation is a lot harder. So in order to isolate the long division part of this, I think we should start by just dividing by 2 and 5. And watch how easy it is when we do this. How many times does 5 go into 7? It goes 1 time. We subtract by 5 right here because we're trying to see what's left over. So again, it's still division with remainders. You're saying how many times does it fit, and then what's left over. And then you bring down the 1, and you do the same thing. How many times does 5 fit into 21? 5, 10, 15, 20. It fits 4 times. You take away 20 in order to see that there's 1 left, and then that is your remainder. And I coded this on Goated Math because I think if you practice it on paper, students don't get that instant feedback of knowing that their answer is correct. And whenever I would assign this to students on Khan Academy, what I would see is they would, cheat, use a calculator. And so that's why I built it like this, because you have to fill in all of the boxes correctly in order to get this answer, in order for this to, move you on to the next step. So I invite you to come and practice this. Goated Math is free. You can, see if you get 10 in a row right. And again, I think if you stick with just numbers by like 2 and 5, which this activity, it only will divide by 2 and 5, gets you the opportunity to feel like you're proficient with long division without letting the calculation weakness get in the way. Again, 2 goes into 8 4 times. There is nothing left over. So we just bring down the 1. The 2 fits into 1 0 times. You take away 0 and there's still 1 left over. And that's why the remainder is 1. And then a lot of students, they'll move up to 4th grade and they're forced to practice long division, even though they're still learning their division facts. And whenever they're trying to do long division by bigger numbers like 9, and they're sitting here counting 9 plus 9, 18 plus 9, 27, and they can't really count by 9s quickly, they lose track of what they're doing. especially fourth grade students who are young and their attention span really isn't there, especially with screens in their faces nowadays. It's very easy to get distracted while they're doing this complicated process, and then they have to restart the problem all over again, and it's really easy for them to feel like they're not fluent. And again, not to say that the calculation weakness isn't something to work on. Of course, if they're struggling with dividing by 9s and 8s and 7s and 6s, that is something we want to address. But I think we have to look at the glass as half full. It's not long division that's the problem. It's the math facts that are the problem. And again, on Goated Math, I've built what I think is a good practice to help students fix this weakness. They need to be able to count forwards and backwards by these numbers. So for a number like 8, I have them practice counting by 8. And whenever I'm coaching a student on this, I tell them to add 10 and then take away 2. So 18 minus 2 is 16. 16 plus 10 is 26. 26 minus 2 is 24. 24 plus 10 is 34, minus 2 is 32. And then if they get, fast enough with counting forwards, then we can practice counting backwards. So they memorize, the numbers going forwards because they do it enough, and they practice doing plus 10 minus 2, and then eventually they're able to do this backwards as well. So that way when they're doing one of these tricky long divisions like 67 divided by 9, they can maybe think to themselves 90, and then counting backwards, 81, 72, 63. So that would fit in 7 times with 4 left over. So again, long division is usually not the tricky part for a lot of students. If you restrict it to 2 and 5, I think a lot of students can get the hang of it very quickly. It's really just mixing their math facts and the long division algorithm together that makes it a little bit complicated on especially younger students. Their brains can only handle so much going on at the same time, and once they're practicing, or once they're focusing on counting their 9s, they can kind of forget the steps of the algorithm. I think by practicing these activities on Goated Math, you can isolate those skills and really focus on where the weaknesses are. Of course, you are free to do this on your own, but if you need some help, you can contact me, and I'll help you out as well. But hopefully this video helped you find what the problem is with your long division, or maybe your student's long division if you're a parent. And I hope this helped you, take some steps in the right direction and feel better with one of the trickier parts of 4th and 5th grade math. So good luck.